everybody, and welcome to the music rating, ranking, and reviewing podcast that we like to call Music Meltdown, in which we rate, rank, and review any artist's discography, songs, really whatever musical topic we have in mind. This episode going to be a bit of a new series I'm doing. And while he wasn't the first person to really come up with it, I was heavily inspired by Tom Williams, otherwise known as Williams. I gotta look back at what his channel name is because I don't want to mess that up. Uh, but anyways, he did a ranking of his top 100 records ever, which I'm not going to be as bold as to say that these are my favorite records, but of like ever. But at least at the current moment, this is my top 100 records, and I'm going to be running through them, sort of giving my thoughts, personal opinions on them, and whatnot. But wanted to spice this up a bit, so I decided to bring along a guest with me. I have Patrick, and he's just gonna kind of give his thoughts on them, sort of opinions, discussion, sort of, I don't know, say some mean things to me if he thinks I did a wrong pick, I suppose. I don't know, just figured it'd be fun to have a friend along for this. So I have my records here. Definitely going to be some spoilers for shows I'll do in the future because, well, if they're on the list, it's probably my favorite, or if not, at least top three by a certain artist. If you're a certain woman, top five. But with that being said, any anything before we get right into this, or
I'm open to hearing the top. Let's see, we're going from 100 to 90. Is that right?
it's 91.
To 91. Okay.
Yep. So bottom 10 of the top 100. So I have an oxymoron there, but this is what it is. First record, number 100. Really tough. Plenty of stuff that I really wanted to make the list, and really a shame that certain records couldn't make it. The one that I know was the closest to making it for me was Return to Cookie Mountain. My TV on the radio just missed out. That's the 101, sort of sour loser. But the record that did beat it out is Black Celebration by Depeche Mode. For me, just an absolute killer of synth pop, of sort of that, not gothic, but just sort of dark, atmospheric synth pop. The title track is absolutely incredible. The Question of Lust is a total classic, and something that I think that Depeche Mode are pretty underrated for is their songwriting, which I think on this record is better than even something like Violator, where I just think that these are incredibly well written, well performed songs, and the whole record just sounds incredible the way it is. It's one of the best sounding sort of synth pop albums out there. And while it's not necessarily the earlier sound that I prefer, for example, a record that didn't quite make it for me was Power Corruption and Lies by New Order. And there is a record that's going to be coming up later that's better exemplifying that really early 80s synth pop sound. I think as a whole, Black Celebration is sort of a great turn for the darker, more atmospheric style that the genre would take on, and really just song for song, it's an outstanding release. So it's going to be a 4.5 for me, which is a 9 out of 10 essentially. So take that for what it's worth. Love the record. Any sort of counterpoints about Black Celebration?
I don't have any counterpoints except I have agreement. I really like Black Celebration. It's a start of a good run of albums actually for Depeche Mode.
Nice.
I like the bookend albums to this as well. Some great reward and music for the masses.
Absolutely.
You're right. Question of Lust is a killer track. Question of Time is also very good. Stripped, I think I like a lot. I'm trying to remember. Here's a House I really like a lot too. Dressed in Black. This is a really, really good. It's a really good album. I own it, love it. I listen to it. And it's probably in one of my top three, or it's probably in the top four at least of Depeche Mode albums for me. I really enjoy it. It's a great album
For sure.
No counterpoint.
Absolutely. The question is now is if
just
it's my
agreement.
favorite Depeche Mode record, which we'll see. Number 99, going to be a bit of a turn away, but kind of in a similar vein for me. I have Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cockatoo Twins. For me, I just absolutely adore Elizabeth Fraser as a vocalist. I think this is her best vocal work by far, and just the soundscapes upon this record are just mesmerizing. It's been mentioned before by Joe from Taste Like Music. It's almost soulful and a bit R&B at points, which I don't see as much, but I just think the utter dream pop and just beauty across all of this. The title track is just essential listening. I think Cherry Colored Funk is beautiful. Pitch the Baby is great. 50 50 Clown might be my favorite on here. And just for what it's worth, everything upon this record is just beautiful. Something that matters a lot to me, perhaps more than other people, is the general soundscapes and just atmosphere of music in and of itself. I want to be able to lose myself within what I'm listening to. And I think that this is one of the best records going purely based upon atmosphere and sort of feel. Um, like I've said, just really delightful. This is going to essentially just be a series of me gushing. So get used to that because it doesn't happen often in the rankings. But yeah, number 99 for me, Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cockatoo Twins.
Great. I put this album, actually, this album for me would be in the top 50 for sure.
Ooh.
And it's right up there with Treasure is one of my favorite Cocteau Twins albums. Not saying a lot because I love them. So
Giving away all those CDs and I had to get them off of you, so that's fun. Yeah, I think Bluebell Knoll, probably my second favorite by them, but for sure Heaven or Las Vegas Treasure, great as well. Heaven or Las Vegas made my list, and the other two didn't, so this is what it is. Number 98 for me, going a little bit later in the 90s in the indie rock realm. Many people would consider this one of the best in that sphere, going Perfect From Now On by Built to Spill. Not going to be the last time that you see Built to Spill on this list. And I just absolutely think that this record is crazy. The first song I ever heard by Built to Spill was I Would Hurt a Fly, and I just thought it was amazing. I love the sort of, it's not noise rock, Built to Spill, but I love just, it's almost a little bit abrasive at points. It's just in your face, a bit heavy in their indie rock style. And just the tracks here are insane. Velvet Waltz, for one thing. Kicked Out in the Sun. Randy Described Eternity. I think Doug Marsh is a really great frontman that doesn't get enough talk. I think him vocally, he has a lot of passion, a lot of just sort of emotion that he puts into his performances. And while he's not necessarily a great singer from a technical perspective, it's just how he's able to influence the songs that are going on and just sort of elevate them. I think is really delightful. My favorite track here would probably be Out of Sight. Yeah, I just really love what they do across here. Just really awesome stuff on Perfect From Now On, and I think that they have even better than that. So yeah.
Perfect From Now On, Keep It Like a Secret. Both those albums, love them a lot. Yep. A good pick.
Definitely 90s indie rock. It doesn't touch that 2000s indie rock that I just gush over and you're going to hear plenty of. But I mean, it's just as great. So next up for me, talking about another sort of alternative loved artist from the 90s, going with PJ Harvey and her first solo record, To Bring You My Love. I just re-listened to this recently and it is just mesmerizing. I love PJ Harvey as a singer. That's going to be something I talk about a lot across here, is just how great of singers there are. And I think that she is, for me, one of the greatest female singers just in general. I think that just her tone and her sort of delivery, she has almost this rasp, this graveliness to her voice that you wouldn't get in other people. And it just lends so interesting to the sort of grungy, really just abrasive styles that can be found on here. The title track is just amazing. Hearing her belt out that chorus every time, it's just guttural how she sings it. It's just really, really excellent. I like the almost slightly punky numbers that are found on here, a bit more up tempo, I suppose, a bit more eccentric and they just blend into everything nicely. Send His Love to Me, I Think I'm a Mother. Come on, Billy. There's just so many excellent, essential songs to be found across this record. And once again, it's another one that's not even my favorite by this artist because I just think that PJ Harvey is so immensely talented in all that she does. And I think that this is one of her best showcases and probably her best record from a songwriting perspective. So yeah, it's Bring You My Love by PJ Harvey.
I just don't know this album well enough, Adrian. This is one
Interesting.
I won't have much input except for the song I like. I've heard it once. I know I do like PJ Harvey, but not familiar enough with either this album or her as an artist that I could add to this one. So
That's it's interesting to me.
sorry.
She feels like somebody that I don't know. I just sort of get the impression that would have known it before. I mean, not saying that as a bad thing, not trying to like shame you for it, but it
I
is what
can
it is.
only there's only so much time in a day. I can
Absolutely,
only listen to so much.
for sure. And next up, talking
But
about a
it's
record.
definitely an opportunity. I'll say it's an opportunity though for me. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Next up, talking about a record that I know that you're very familiar with, so I'm very familiar with, as we've discussed it at length together. Talking about El Dorado by the Electric Light Orchestra. Just incredible. Jeff Lynne is an absolute madman. He didn't quite come into his own production wise across this record. I do think that it sounds weaker than the ones that were before it, but a halfway decent sounding Jeff Lynne record is still better than 99% of other produced albums. He really found his voice across this album, I feel. Stuff like Laredo Tornado, Can't Get It Out of My Head, El Dorado. I love stuff like Illusions in G minor and Boy Blue. Just to sort of remark on something, this cover is so weird. I don't really get the whole Wizard of Oz thing, but it's perfect. Just like so much of this album, I feel like ELO are a band that gets discredited by a lot of people for being so heavily Beatles influenced and based upon other classic rock bands. But I feel like on a record like this, they're so much their own character. Jeff Lynne is just oozing his personality and his own touches, and the band is just sensational. You can tell that they started out in a prog landscape because, well, their songs are just so brilliantly crafted and so well performed that it's almost insane that they're choosing to do these incredible pop songs. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. We've talked about it before, and there's not much more to add. Just incredible stuff. El Dorado by the Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, great album. Yes.
Thanks. Not much to really add on that. It is what it is. It's great.
You said it yourself. Not much. This is not much more to say. It's a pretty darn good album. Absolutely. No, it's wonderful. Love it.
Now, next up, we were talking a little bit earlier because we were planning on recording a different video today, but it is what it is. I'm going to be talking about a record that I know has grown off you a little bit in time, but I'm so in love with it. War by U2. U2 are one of those bands. A lot of people don't like them. I personally really love a lot of their stuff up to pop. Obviously, War being one of the big examples of which I think that we were planning to do a post-punk video. This won't be in that one, but it's pretty high in contention for me. I just think that the Edge's guitar sound across this record, and just really across the entirety of the early U2 catalog, but this record especially, it's just incredibly great. Bono, of course, is always just singing his guts out, just sort of laying everything on the table. And I think that this is one of their most biting track listings overall. Sunday Bloody Sunday, while overplayed, is incredible. New Year's Day is just as great. Same with Like a Song. I've always loved Two Heart Speed is One. That chorus is just sensational. And I think it closes really nicely with 40 degrees or whatever that's supposed to be called. I really like how it sort of closes it out with not necessarily as much high energy or as much sort of aggressiveness because there's so much heaviness across the record. It's called War, and that's really a great way to describe it because they're really just sort of burning down those early bridges and really declaring war with this record. I just think it's really immaculate, one of the best of the genre, and not much more to add there. Really excellent stuff.
Yeah, I loved it when I was a kid. I don't know about it now. I will say it's probably I do like the Unforgettable Fire an awful lot too. It's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, right behind you there. I do like it. I don't have the passion for it I once did. Just happens.
Well,
But I do. I think up through I like basically everything that you two did. Maybe what was it? October was their second album.
yeah.
I'm not crazy about that one, but
Is
boy, I
anybody crazy
like
about that
War.
record though?
Don't know. Could be. I don't
October's
know.
fine.
I'd say up through Octung Baby is you two that I would be willing to listen to again. But after that, it's probably and of that run, I'd say War and probably War and Unforgettable Fire are my favorite two out of that.
Interesting. Good to hear. Now let's you say that's an artist that you sort of lost your passion for. As showcased on this channel, this is an artist that you have nothing but passion for. Talking about next, Sade with Diamond Life. Love Deluxe didn't quite make the list, really close, but as said in the video, this is my favorite Sade record. Just the absolute peak of 80s pop and just absolutely perfectly crafted pop music. But it's filled with so many other different influences, like slight touches of jazz, R&B, soul. There's just so much unique identity and influence across this record, and the songs themselves are just incredibly well written by Sade. Smooth Operator, Your Love Is King, Frankie's First Affair, I Will Be Your Friend, Why Can't We Live Together? There's just so much incredible material to be found across this that it's almost insane to think that this is a debut album because they show up fully formed, fully developed, and they're just amazing writers, amazing performers, and it's possibly the most perfectly crafted pop record that I'm going to be talking about here. There isn't a single note out of place, and maybe that's to its fault, but I mean, I got no complaints for it. It's just absolutely immaculate, and I could listen to Sade sing note for note, and I will love it because she is incredible. So yeah, Diamond Life.
Classic. Yep.
Oh
She's
yeah,
probably one of the greatest vocalists of the last 50 years. One of.
yeah.
She's amazing. And the band's amazing. Playing's immaculate. Songwriting superb. Um, as far as neo soul goes, she's the band and her are some of my favorites for sure. I have a big passion for Sade, and I think they're criminally underrated and they don't get talked about enough. They had platinum, multi-platinum albums. Almost everyone they released went multi-platinum, but yet still somehow they fall under a lot of people's radar, which is a
Absolutely.
shame. I think, and I hope that they get back together and record again because I'd love to hear it. They
Oh,
span decades. They don't record unless they've got something to sing and unless they've got
yeah,
something to play and say. So it may or may not happen. But anyway, love them, love them, love them.
yeah. You can only hope. I mean, hope we shall. Next up, the only Sophistopop record I would call better than Diamond Life, and it's really close. But next up for me, it's going to be Jordan the Comeback by Prefab Sprout. Whenever people think of Prefab Sprout, more often than not, they're thinking of Steve McQueen, and reasonably so. But I think that Jordan the Comeback is even better. It's 19 songs, not a single miss across any of them. It's sort of scattered between several plot points, but to be brutally honest, I don't care about that stuff. What I care about is just the incredible songs across here. Wild Horses, We Let the Stars Go, Jordan the Comeback, Always Believe Anything, One for the Broken, and of course the immaculate finale on the record Doo Wop in Harlem. It's just amazing. I think Patty as a vocalist is really underrated. He's just perfect, knows how to play to the parts incredibly. And just from a musical perspective, everything that I said about Love Deluxe could be applied to this record as well. But if anything, I like it even more here because I feel like it has this artistic flair, That obviously is present on Sade, but I feel like on this record, it's a bit more upfront. It's a bit more abstract, even. And it's just immaculate front to back for me. It does run a bit long, and that's the only reason why it's sadly so low as it is, but just amazing. Jordan the Comeback by Prefab Sprout. Next up.
Yeah, I really like this album. Not quite as much as Steve McQueen. I think you're right. I think it's a little long,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's a top shelf songwriter. Patty is a top shelf songwriter. They and when I say top shelf, I have no problems comparing him to someone like Cole Porter or Gershwin. He's that
nice.
good.
Absolutely.
Um, he he's so unique. It's definitely, you can hear influences
Sure.
for decades after Prefab Sprout, in particular bands like Black Country New Road. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's definitely, there's a Prefab Sprout influence on that band.
Never really thought of it.
Jockstrap is another one, where these songs just shoot off in all directions, different tempos, different styles, all contained within the same song. Yeah, no, big Prefab Sprout fan for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, next record, one that I know would be higher for many other people, and this is not going to be the last time that you hear about this artist, because I absolutely love him. Going to be talking about one of only two double records to make the entire list, which says a lot about me, but Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder is going to be next up. Just incredible. Well, he obviously did have pop success before this. This is really whenever he was shot to stardom, I would say. And just all across here is just knockout song after song. I love how Love's a Need to Love Today starts out the record. Have a Talk with God is really great. Sir Duke is an incredible way to end out side one. I Wish is beautiful and knocks me off my feet is incredible. Really, that entire side two could be acclaimed to be the best EP ever made. Just amazing. Isn't She Lovely is a classic for a reason. I think Black Man is incredibly profound and just really powerful in how it goes about everything. And while side four, definitely the weakest, it still has stuff like As, and I love how the record ends with another star. And it's hard to discuss this record without talking about just the absolute brilliant sound of the record. It's by far his best sounding album, which is hard to compare in a catalog that's as gorgeous as Stevie Wonder's. But that record, just all throughout, every track on it is just beat for beat perfection. Just really, really incredible stuff all across it. And especially for a double record with a bonus EP on it, it's really hard to deny just the brilliance of it. So, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, 5-star album for me. It would be in my also. I'd put it in my top 50 for certain.
Ooh,
And Stevie
nice.
would probably have multiple appearances in there. Um, yeah, he was just on. He was firing on all cylinders by this time. He obviously, anybody that can put out a double album and an EP, unbelievable. He was just so full of music at this point. And probably at this point in time in 1976, when Songs in the Key of Life came out, he was the top musician recording at the time. No doubt about it. He
Absolutely.
ruled the roost as far as I'm concerned.
I,
Yeah, love this
I,
album. Absolutely, jazz elements,
oh yeah,
soul, funk, R&B. He covers a gamut. Country, for goodness sake. There's nothing
country.
Stevie can't do. He's
That's true.
amazing. He's a polymath. He can play any instrument. One of my favorite drummers, Stevie Wonder. He's an amazing drummer. He's got a great
I,
touch, great feel. He just sounds wonderful. He's love Stevie. That's all I gotta say.
I was actually going to drop the bomb there because I may be as bold as to say Stevie Wonder is my favorite drummer because I just think that his playing is just sensational all across his catalog.
Epic. I can't pick a favorite, but I can pick
Yep.
one of, and he belongs in there
And I
for
mean,
sure.
for me, it's inarguable. In my personal opinion, he is just the greatest musician. Just the way he's able to command all of the instruments that he's able to play is just utterly incredible. And I mean, obviously, him being blind is like that makes it even more impressive to me. Just that he's able to do all of this with such a blatant, it, impairment. So now time to get to probably a more questionable pick for many people, but I mean, I love it, so it is what it is. Especially going above all of these arguable classics for me. The last record to be discussed today for me at number 91 is going to be Emmerdale by the Cardigans. If all that you know the Cardigans for is Loveful and your favorite game, I have to say you are sorely missing out on some of the greatest indie pop, sort of lounge pop, almost slight jazzy tinge 90s indie pop that you will ever hear. For me, Nina Pearson is one of the all-time great vocalists. I think that she is just absolutely mesmerizing, and all of her performances are just delightful. The band plays on such a tight and uniform package. It almost reminds me in many ways of something of that a band like Japanese Breakfast would later go on to do, or almost Mitski at points. Just that really sort of twee indie sound, but has these great, beautiful female vocals and just great bite to everything that they do. The opening track across this record, Sick and Tired, is just absolutely amazing. Black Letter Day sort of drops it down a bit, gets into that really loungy range, and Nina just sings her heart out on it. And there's just so much incredible music to be found on here. They do a cover of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. And dare I say, I like this version more because I just think that it is beautiful. They're able to take this sort of dark, doomy metal song and just turn it into this chipper, almost chiptune quality track. It's just gorgeous. And the way that it ends on last song is just really great. Weirdly enough, the Cardigans were a band that did very well in Japan, and you can definitely see how that would be the case with their sort of really indie, sort of intimate sound. To me, just really beautiful material all across this record. If you haven't given the Cardigans more of a shot outside of Loveful, I cannot recommend them enough. And Emmerdale is going to be my 91 favorite record. 91st is the correct term. Already messing up. This is what it is.
I can't add anything to this one, Adrian. I just don't know anything about
What?
this record.
You're telling
I'm
me you
sorry. I've
don't know
never
that
heard it. I've
Sabbath?
never heard this.
Here, I gotta send you that
Oh,
Sabbath
I know
Bloody
Black
Sabbath cover.
Sabbath. I don't want to say anything.
I mean, you can say
There's
what you
just
want,
no
but
way. Well, there's no way. Sabbath. I keep the Sabbath holy. Okay. I keep the Black Sabbath holy. It would be hard for me, probably like any cover
yeah.
of any Sabbath song better than Sabbath's own uh own performance. Let me put it that way. There's just no way. I'm
I
too
don't know.
much of a Black Sabbath fan. I'm biased,
Yeah.
so there's
Oh,
no
me
way.
too.
I would probably not even give the Cardigans a chance on this. It's
Fair
fine that
enough.
they covered it. I'm glad that I'm
Yeah.
glad that you like it, but I
It's
would
actually,
can't can't go there, and I just don't know anything about this album.
it's actually
I've not heard it.
It's actually a running theme across their records. They cover a ton of Sabbath songs for whatever reason. Like they've done
Well, they're probably fans, and I
yeah,
can understand that.
absolutely. They've done
Yeah.
like Sabbath Way Sabbath, Changes, Iron Man, they had Mr. Crowley.
Wow.
I they've just done
They're
like
obviously big fans.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
which is weird knowing their music, but
Have they done a complete album of Sabbath
they haven't. It's
of
just
Sabbath
kind of
covers?
scattered
You
across their
probably, I
catalog.
was going to say, do you think you probably fill up at least an EP's worth of,
Oh,
it
for
sounds
sure.
like, covers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Their
Wow.
Iron Man one is probably the best one though.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
wouldn't think about them in that regard, but it is what it is.
No, I wouldn't.
Well,
Yeah, no.
that being said, that was the first batch of 10 records that I have discussed. And if you can't tell from this list, Not necessarily going to be your most traditional. We aren't going to hit like a Pet Sounds, like an Abbey Road. We're going to have some fun with these records because the case is weird as shit. I really hope that you enjoyed me gushing for what was this, like 20 minutes or so. That being said, hoping to come back and discuss records 90 through 81 next time. And really hope that you enjoyed. You have a great one.